So I want to talk about a couple of things that have been really disappointing for me in relation to my VSG surgery and also with losing over 100 pounds. So I guess things that I was expecting and have been disappointed because those expectations haven't been met. So the first thing that has been really disappointing for me is the actual surgery itself. So I was expecting it to be a lot easier than what it was. I didn't really have any major health problems apart from being obese, like going into surgery, and I had lost 53 pounds I had to do like a 6-month supervised weight loss program prior to getting the surgery. So I was feeling pretty confident that it was going to be fairly easy for me as far as recovery goes, and that's not exactly what happened. So it was kind of like my whole surgery experience wasn't good, and my hospital stay wasn't good either. So I was scheduled for like the first surgery of the day with my surgeon. So I think it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be there a couple hours earlier to my insurance covered 80% of the cost of the surgery, so I had to be there earlier to pay the difference, the copay, whatever you want to call it. So I did that. That was fine, and then went upstairs to get ready for the surgery, and you kind of I'm probably not going to be able to get through this without stopping a couple of times because all my kids are home and they're pests, basically. So where was I? So I went upstairs to get ready for the surgery, and that was fine. They have, like, you meet all the different people that are going to be involved with your actual surgery, and then you get into the hospital gown and whatever. And so all that went fine. And then, so kind of at the end, I'm just waiting to go in for the actual surgery. So it's about 20 minutes before I got wheeled into surgery, I went to the bathroom, and surprise, I got my period. So I was kind of already getting off to a bad start. For anyone who isn't sure, you can still have the surgery done with your period. If anyone who's had a baby or whatever, they just give you like the underwear that you have after having a baby. So I was kind of like, what the heck? Like, this isn't a good start, but whatever. So that happened, and then as it was getting, so kind of took care of that, told the nurses, and then it was getting really close to me going into surgery, and I was getting really, really anxious, and so they gave me like a medicine to calm me down, which worked. So that was good. But I just want to backtrack a little bit here because it's important later on. They actually put like an anti-nausea thing behind my ear to get ready for, like, to get out in front of any like nausea or sickness I might feel like later on. So the next thing I remember, I was waking up in recovery, and I hear my surgeon say to the nurse or whoever it was that was there that just be careful, or be aware that she has extra incisions. And so I kind of thought that was weird, but I was still kind of out of it. And then as I woke up more, I started to feel like really nauseous, and then it turns out that I had to actually stay under like anesthesia quite a bit longer than anticipated, and they had to, I still had like this surgery done laparoscopically, but they had to cut extra incisions, because when they went into, like, when you had the VSG, they like cut and staple at the same time. I guess when they went in there, my stomach was kind of like a weird shape, and they couldn't like maneuver the little instrument thing properly to get the staple line straight. So they had to put extra cuts in, and it just took a bit longer to do the actual surgery. So I was out of it for longer than what I should have been, and I had like extra cuts on my stomach. So woke up and kind of absorbed all that. I didn't have any pain at all when I woke up, but I felt so sick, like it was like morning sickness and seasickness, and it just wasn't good. And so they immediately gave me something in my IV to help with that, and it kind of it worked for the most part. Eventually I got taken back up to my room and got settled in. They put these like compression things on your legs that are like automatic. They kind of inflate and deflate, and I wasn't in there too long, and they had me up walking, and I was fairly mobile, so I could get around on my own. So they were happy to take the compression things off after only a couple hours, and then so I could get up and like walk around myself without having to have a nurse come with me every time. So at that point, I think they were giving me Dilaudid for pain relief, like through the IV. I didn't have any pain at all, and I didn't like it. I'd never had Dilaudid before, and it was kind of making me feel loopy. I didn't like that, but whatever. And so I was pretty much every hour I was getting up to walk around, and in between this I'm dealing with my period. So like they have like a thing in the toilet to like measure your urine, and it wasn't like, I was just like gross, like my anyway, moving along from that. So everything was going okay. The only thing I could have was ice chips. I didn't really want to eat the broth or the other crap that they bought, but they were fine with that. And then I don't know how much longer it was before they switched me from the like IV Dilaudid to like oral medicine, and I think it was oxycodone, or it was something different. But the first dose of that medicine that I had orally, it like triggered the nausea all over again, and it just got progressively worse and worse, to the point where I refused like pain meds. Like I would rather be in pain than feel sick. But it, like the whatever it is that they give you to try and stop the nausea, wasn't really working. So, and at this point I'm kind of feeling like just keeping a lid on my nausea. So I was trying to concentrate on anything but how sick I felt, and so I was getting up to walk around like a lot more, like probably like 2 or 3 times an hour, just because I didn't want to lay in bed and feel like I was going to puke. So I would like take my IV thing with me, wheel it along, and I also had in my other hand like one of those like bags they give you in the hospital to puke in, just in case. So doing great. Like mindfulness and like trying to like, you know, visualize myself not feeling sick and just keep on moving, and that was all going well until it was dark, so I want to say maybe it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and I was like in a room like at the end of the hallway, and you could either like walk out and go right and then walk down and then past the nurse's station, or you could go left. And so I walked out and turned right, and I looked down on the floor, and I'm kind of like having one of those moments where I'm not really sure what I'm seeing, and then I realize it's like human feces, like on the floor right there, and so I'm just like staring at it confused, and then the smell hit me, and it was all over. So all my containing of my nausea, that was like the lid come off, and I was like very, very sick. And so on top of like standing there and gagging, and I'm just like staring at this big human shit on the floor, and I didn't really know what to do. So I kind of backed away from it, and then I had to go find a nurse or someone and tell them, like in between gagging, like, hey, there's like someone's taking a shit on the floor right outside my room. Could we please? Oh, and it wasn't me. Could we please get that cleaned up? At this stage, after dealing with like feeling nauseous for most of the day, and then smelling human shit, and then going through like the weird conversation of saying like there's like trying to word it politely, like there's crap on the floor outside my room, I was completely traumatized, and everything went downhill from there. Like I was just sicker than sick, and then I like couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I was like, I mean, I'm sure it was just like an accident, but I was like, I don't know, so feeling sick and then not able to stop thinking about the human shit cake on the floor. So it got so bad, the nausea, I was awake most of the night, and just miserable. And so by the next day, I guess once my surgeon come in, they were able to order a medicine that they give for like chemotherapy patients, and it took a while for that to come in, but as soon as they gave that to me, it was instant relief. So I started to feel better, and which was good, because like up to that point where I started to get relief, I was regretting the surgery, like completely regretting it. That's how sick I felt. I was just went into a really dark headspace, and I think there's nothing worse than feeling like sickness that you can't get relief from. And yeah, so I had a moment of like just a really dark moment, and so yeah, so I started to recover pretty quickly once I got the IV and whatever, but by that time they weren't comfortable letting me go home, and so I ended up having to stay another night in the hospital. They wanted to just, you know, make sure I was going to be okay, and I hadn't really slept at all the previous night, so I was exhausted on top of just not being well. So that was fine. But yeah, it's definitely not what I was expecting my hospital experience to be. So I ended up in there for 3 days and 2 nights. And so then there's another surprise that comes with that. So I don't know, it might have been like a month after my surgery, I got a bill in the mail. Excuse me. So the extra time in the operating theatre, and the extra night in hospital, I cost extra money, which ended up coming out of my pocket. So because of like the like the unforeseen circumstances, I guess you would call it, I ended up having extra time, extra incisions, and like it cost us a lot more money than what we were expecting to pay. So we thought it had all been taken care of. I had to pay like $2,600 up front as my copay, and I ended up having to pay that again. I still haven't paid it off. I'm 9 months post-op, and I worked out a payment plan. I disputed everything, but it was all there. It was just hadn't allowed for all the extra crap that happened. So that's definitely something to be aware of for anyone else who is going in to have surgery. So sadly, yeah, my expectations of what the actual surgery would be like did not meet reality. So this is kind of long now, so I will probably make a separate video I've got like 2 or 3 other things that didn't meet my expectations, so I will do those in another video. So thanks for watching.